Chapter 20, Hiccup the God. The Romans flocked to the circuses in their thousands to be entertained. They expected a glorious theatrical experience, blood and guts, heroism, feats of astonishing physical prowess. They were certainly getting their money's worth now. This was a sight no one had ever seen before. A flying boy. The crowd leaped to their feet amazed. Fishlegs nearly fell out of the boat. And slowly, majestically, Hiccup rose up through the rain with his arms spread out wide as if held up by magical forces. Brilliant, whispered Kamikaze. I don't know how he's doing it, but it's brilliant. Hiccup rose and rose up to the metal sort of ceiling of the amphitheatre, the netting that the sharp teeth of the flash fangs had failed to bite through in their terror. At a single stroke of Hiccup's hand, the netting split in two. He burst through and hung in the air, every awestruck eye upon him. The fat consul fell to his knees. Even Alvin's jaw dropped. "My name," boomed Hiccup in a voice he had never used before. "My name is Thor the Thunderer, ancient god of the Viking tribes." The crowd gasped. "Well, you may tremble," bellowed Hiccup, "for you Romans have invaded sacred Viking territories and made me mad." "We're very, very sorry," stammered the fat consul. "For this," boomed Hiccup solemnly, "I have sent a plague upon you as their leader." The consul scratched himself miserably. "And I shall plague you forever unless you promise to go from here and never return." "We promise," said the consul. "Here," he sobbed, "I offer you my shield, O mighty one, as a sign of your protection from the Romans. Never again shall we come this far north." "I will take your shield as a sign of your promise," cried Hiccup, "and also the book your servant stole from me. Oh, and one more thing." Anything, pleaded the consul. "I expect you to be a strict vegetarian for the rest of your life." The godlike Hiccup flew towards the consul's balcony. Still on his knees, the consul offered him the rectangular Roman shield. Alvin put his trembling hand into his breast pocket and found the tattered copy of How to Speak Dragonese, the two halves sewn together carefully with golden Roman thread. He fumbled to get rid of the booby trap he had placed inside the book, for Alvin was a careful man. He had slipped something very nasty indeed between the pages, a nanodragon called the Venomous Vorpant, so that anybody who tried to steal the book would get a horrible shock. But one does not booby-trap a god, and Alvin was desperately trying to shake out the poisonous nanodragon when he caught a close-up sight of the shirt Hiccup was wearing. "Hang on a second," said Alvin. But it was too late. Hiccup snatched the book from him, still with the venomous Vorpant inside it, and rose swiftly into the air. He held the shield victoriously above his head and made his final speech. "I hold the shield as a sign of your promise, but if you ever break that promise, you can tell your Caesar that the force of my anger shall reach into the heart of the empire, and Rome herself will be swept away by the deluge." Hiccup pointed his sword at the dam. Right on cue, a couple of cracks appeared, and the dam split in half, and numberless tons of seawater burst into the stadium. Chapter 21. You can't keep a bog burglar under lock and key. The spell that Hiccup had cast on the audience was instantly broken. It was as if they had been sleeping and had suddenly woken up to the reality that they were about to be swept away by the flood. Furthermore, everyone had forgotten about the sharkworms. The metal netting that should have protected the audience had been broken by Hiccup. The sharkworms were back in the water again, and they were already nearly able to reach the wooden seating. The audience screamed in terror as one of the sharkworms leaped upward and was almost among them. It lost its grip on the slippery edge and fell back into the water. But the water was rising so quickly, it was clearly only a matter of time before it succeeded in getting up to their level. Suddenly, the afternoon's entertainment of Survival of the Fittest had taken an interesting twist. The audience, who had laughed so heartily at the tables being turned on the greedy Flashfangs, didn't seem so amused to find that they themselves had become the prey. They stormed towards the entrance, shoving each other out of the way and screaming for the doors to be opened. The pressure of the water on the doors caused them to open anyway, and they burst apart, and the water poured out and down the hillside. Fishlegs and Kamikaze turned their attention to steering the boat. The flying Hiccup descended and landed beside them on the deck. Toothless appeared from nowhere and perched on his shoulder. "Oh, I'm lost for words," said Kamikaze. "How did you do it?" Hiccup pointed to his shirt. "Look a little closer," he said. The Vikings craned forward. Hiccup's shirt seemed to have changed colour. Indeed, when they looked closer still, it seemed not to be a shirt at all. It was made up of millions and millions of tiny, winged creatures, all practically invisible to the naked eye, and all clinging to Hiccup's clothing underneath. This was what had caused Hiccup to fly. The numberless armies of Zygerastica. The little nanodragon himself flew out from his position of command on Hiccup's chest to bow to the Vikings. "This terrible, terrible plan," announced Zygerastica joyfully, "has worked beautifully. I, Zygerastica the Mighty, have made it do this. How wonderful I am, how glorious is my empire, how numerous and powerful are my peoples." "We were lucky too," grinned Hiccup. "I'm almost sorry to leave you, oh boy with no muscles at all," said Zygerastica sorrowfully. "But we are quits now. I have saved your life in exchange for you saving mine, and you are still a stinking human after all." "Thanks," said Hiccup. "But this has been a great day for the little creatures of the world." Zygerastica gave a single command, and the nanodragons instantly rose in a grey mass like a small thundercloud and disappeared into the sky. As they rose, they sang a song that the Romans would have been wise to listen to, but they were too busy panicking. A warning to emperors. Watch out, O Romans, with your empires and your stinking breath. Watch out for the smaller things of this world, for we are going to get you. One day you live your lives up in the skies, building your aqueducts and your colosseums, and you never think of us, ticking away in the grasses. But we see you, and if you bend your ear, you just might hear the steady beat of countless feet that come to eat the wall that curls 100 miles across a continent. That temple, built with the tears of millions of slaves, and all your most mighty and splendid creations, shall turn to dust in our mouths. So watch out, O Caesars, with fat bottoms and hard hearts. Watch out. "Goodbye, O boy with arms like pieces of string," sang Zygerastica, "and may the winds that blow you be strong." And with that he was gone. "Why'd you let him go?" shrieked Fishlegs. "I hate to mention this, but we're not free yet. We're still stuck in an arena, surrounded by sharkworms." "Now the sharkworms seem more interested in the audience," said Hiccup. "That's why I got Zygerasticus armies, to eat through the metal netting and to spend all night chomping through the dam. It was all part of my plan, you see. Now the dam has cracked. We can simply sail out." Hiccup gestured to the open doors of the auditorium. The water was pouring out of them in a great river. "Brilliant," said Kamikaze. "I've got to admit, that's brilliant for a boy, of course." Hiccup was already at the tiller. The tiller is the part that steers the rudder. The rudder's at the back of the boat, which changes the direction of the boat, but you move the rudder using the tiller. Hiccup was already at the tiller, and he pointed the ship towards the open doors of the stadium. The Valhalla Express nosed its way towards the entrance. "We're going to make it," yelled Fishlegs. "We're nearly there." The Valhalla Express was halfway through the door, but Alvin had spotted them trying to escape and given the orders to send the portcullis rattling down. It cut the Valhalla Express in two. Fishlegs and Kamikaze and Hiccup were thrown into the water on the wrong side of the bars. The sea was breath-quenchingly cold. "Oh!" shrieked Fishlegs, almost rearing out of the water. He was so terrified of the sharkworms. "Climb the portcullis," ordered Hiccup. The 3 young Vikings swam to the portcullis and climbed it, Hiccup towing Fishlegs, and with Toothless flapping behind them. 2 meters or so up, they clung, dripping and terrified, like 4 little spiders. Through the slippery bars, they had a tantalizing view of the freedom of the open ocean, hopelessly out of reach. All round them were the shrieks of the crowd and clouds of escaping dragons, because the nanodragons had eaten the locks of those giant cages too. The Romans were running to their ships and setting sail back to Rome as fast as they could. The sharkworms were taking over the island, climbing over the battlements and destroying the soldiers' tents. 1 or 2 of them had already made their way to the fat consul's swimming pool and were wallowing in the water. So what do we do now? Shouted Kamikaze, her teeth chattering. I give up, Hiccup shouted back, a sudden gust of wind nearly blowing him off the portcullis. His fingers were so frozen he wasn't sure how much longer he could hold on. This isn't part of my plan. What more do you want of me? It's all up to you now. You're the master. Escaper, aren't you? You're the great Kamikaze. No prison can hold you. The great Kamikaze will get us out of here, shouted Kamikaze, if you admit the girls are way, way better than boys and always have been. Dream on, sunshine, grinned Hiccup. Okay, shouted Kamikaze. The great Kamikaze will get us out of here anyway. You can't keep a Bob burglar under lock and key. Are you sure you want to follow me? Lead on, said Hiccup with a slightly mad laugh. We can't hang around here forever. Kamikaze craned her neck upwards. Some way above them, tethered, which means tied, to the top of the amphitheatre entrance was one of those enormous Roman observation balloons. If we can't sail out of here, she yelled, I vote we fly, and she pointed to the balloon. Oh, brother, moaned Fishlegs miserably as he climbed slowly after the others. If Woden had meant us to fly, he'd have given us wings. Don't look down, Fishlegs, don't look down. Kamikaze climbed expertly upwards, and she got to the balloon first, closely followed by Hiccup. They scrambled into the basket. It was empty except for a rather depressed-looking Gronkle, trapped in a cage right underneath the open mouth of the balloon. Every now and then he shot out a burst of flame that heated the air, and this would send the balloon bouncing upward for a moment before it was stopped by the rope that moored it. Hello, brother of the snake, panted Hiccup. He looked carefully around the basket for any hidden soldiers. Are you on your own here? The soldiers are all watching the Saturday celebration, said the Gronkle. Actually, it's nice to have some peace and quiet for a change. Well, I'm so sorry to disturb you, but we're taking over this balloon. It's a military emergency. No problem, said the sad Gronkle. It would be my pleasure. Nobody's bothered to ask me nicely before. They usually just hit me. Oh dear, said Hiccup sympathetically. He hated to see his fellow creatures trapped or ill-treated. Of course, we'll let you go as soon as we get home, but at the moment we're in a bit of a hurry. It's not that I don't like the job, the Gronkle assured him. It's nice up here, it's peaceful, you know. When would you like to leave? Very soon, said Hiccup. We're just waiting for a friend. He peered back over the edge of the basket. He could see the top of Fishleg's head, making painfully slow progress up the portcullis. Below him the excitable sharkworms leaped and the crowd stampeded. Fishlegs, will you get a move on? I'm climbing as fast as I can, Fishlegs shouted up indignantly. I'm not stopping to admire the view or anything. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.